the word stress is should be used carefully because there's a difference. There's different stress words that are more appropriate in psychology. So for example, if we think of a traumatic situation or a dramatic situation that could cause trauma, or or even a small thing. There's the small things in daily life, and there's the big things that could cause trauma. So either way, those are called not stress, but a related word. Can anybody remember the related word that those would be called? The events in one's life that might, and the key word is might, cause stress.
Traumas?
Yeah, traumatic experiences, traumatic events that could cause trauma, or they could cause stress, but pardon?
Sorry, stressors?
Stressors, right, yes. Right, that's what I was looking for. It's a derivation of the word stress that's more accurate. Those are events or things that are stressors. In other words, things that could cause stress. Why do I use the word could so strongly? I mean, if you think of the common denominator of all of us, it's like, well, the person is part of this equation. So because the person is part of this equation, whether or not we experience stress, it's up to us, or the degree of stress, or of course, a dramatic event, everybody's going to feel some stress, but how do we handle that stress? So the stress response, and these are key words, is what the human, their response, and we can control it quite a bit, especially long term. But, and of course, there's other factors, not just our own, attitude or training or education in how to handle stressors, but also the support we have in our environment, how long the stressor continues, how often it continues. So there's many other factors involved, and the degree to the stressor. You have a cranky person at the store is a stressor, but some people will freak out if the person's mean to them. Some people will just let it roll off, like water off of a duck, a deer duck. But those are the little ones that sometimes, if people let all of those things get to them, it can really add up. And it can create because of the way we deal with it, a chronic situation. But then you have the larger events that our stress response, individuals still have different levels of responses. And I'm also doing research not only on post-traumatic stress disorder, but also post-traumatic stress response. So, and growth, the growth that can happen from stress. So I like to emphasize the growth possibilities, and that's what, as psychologists, we're learning. So we'll move on from her, fortunately, mock stress freaked out look, but she's cute. It's funny, but let's, in real life, it's sometimes not so funny. So here we go. We see the stressors as the events, that can endanger, at least we perceive them to endanger one's either physical or psychological well-being. So stressors, or how we perceive them, will affect our stress response or our reaction. So now research has shown different aspects of the power, in a sense, or tendency for people or animals to respond to stressors. So Holmes and Rahe have shown 4 aspects that will affect the level of stress being perceived. So controllability, predictability, major changes in life circumstances, and internal conflict. So I'll go through each one of them. But before I do that, just to also mention, so the word trauma is more dramatic. And that really truly is on a high or a more extreme level. So you have natural disasters, war, rape, robbery, particularly armed robbery, etc. So there's different levels. So we'll go into that. That's just to clarify definitionally. But now let's look at these breakdowns. Well, later on, the breakdown happens. So I'll talk about it now, and then just review it later. So controllability is very important in how much we respond. So if we have a sense of control over the event, we have most people have less of a stress response. You feel more, okay, I can handle this. So that's a good thing. And they've done it with rats and mice, the poor things, but they're through studies with them as well as, of course, studies with humans. That tends to be the case. Predictability, same for the poor little rat or mouse who's being tested. Say, for example, they're giving them shocks on their tiny little delicate feet. If the little guy or girl knows how often or when it's going to happen, if it's predictable, the stress levels that this little creature experiences, or a human, is less. Makes sense, right? With this little piece of knowledge, for example, I remember years ago after I first read about it, I was like, yeah, well, that makes sense. So next time I went to the dentist, I asked him, can you let me know, how many shots I'm going to get today, or how long will the drilling last, or can I just know information? If you let me know information, my stress levels will be lower, based on research. And so he did. Every dentist I've had, every new dentist, I'll tell them that, and they comply, and it helps. You imagine you don't know, okay, am I going to get shot? Is he going to keep giving me shots, or is he going to drill? How long is he going to drill for? How long is this going to go on? So it does make it more stressful. And if I know, it's like, okay, I'll get 2 shots, then it's over. Then it's going to get better. It's helpful. So the little rats showed the same thing. If they knew they're going to get shocked once a day, right before lunch, it's like, okay, I'll deal with it. Like, no, I just happens once. That's how smart they are too. They know the future, and they can plan ahead. So there's little stress levels. Their cortisol, different ways of measuring was lower.